Welcome back everyone. Time to do another comparison this time around between the iPhone 12 Pro Max and the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra. Now what's very interesting is that both these phones are pretty much both these manufacturers' top tier phones that they're selling that are kind of comparable. Besides, the Z Flips and the Fold 2s and stuff, these two phones I feel like are going to be one of the biggest competitors to one another. And what's very interesting is that they both have their pros, they both have their cons, and there's some really interesting things between both these devices that I cannot wait to get started talking about. But before that, pricing wise, there is a little bit of difference for sure. Brand new pricing, the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra is, I believe, a more expensive phone overall than the 12 Pro Max. That's just a given. But the 12 Pro Max can be upgraded in storage to pretty much be more expensive than the S20 Ultra brand new. So definitely keep that in mind as well. But the iPhone 12 Pro Max is, $1099 for the base model. The Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra, you can pick it up in the used market for a little bit around that price. I think maybe it's a little bit cheaper on Amazon too. So I'll find the cheapest ones of both these, link them down in the description below. You can get them from there and help support the channel at the same time. Now looking on the front, the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra has that 6.9-inch dynamic AMOLED display, and it is a 1440p panel. Now what I can tell you is I think the S20 lineup, including the S20 Plus and standard S20, have probably the best panels of any phones that have came out this year. I think these phone panels are just amazing. They have that hole punch display, curved design architecture. I mean, this is one of the best looking displays ever. And on top of that, it has that 120 Hz refresh rate. That is a huge asset for this device. And for sure, anything I ever did with the Galaxy S20 Ultra's panel, it was amazing. And it's just like unfair because even 3 years from now, this phone screen is still going to be beautiful. Where the iPhone 12 Pro Max has that 6.7-inch 1284 by 2778 panel, so not as high resolution as the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra. It has less pixels per inch as well, but it's still actually a pretty good panel. But I will say with the 12 series, just not just the 12 Pro Max in general, but with the whole entire 12 series, they've had some issues with the panel. I'm not really too sure what Apple's going to do about it. There's some yellow tinting. With my specific panel, it's just alright. Like, I don't know. I feel like the 11 Pro Max had a better panel, to be completely honest, but this panel is good. It's great, I would say, but it's like more or less the same. With the S20 Ultra, I mean, they really took a notch up and they really made a much better panel for sure with the Galaxy S20 Ultra. When it comes down to both these, I would rather have the Galaxy S20 Ultra's panel than the 12 Pro Max's panel for sure. Now the S20 Ultra has USB Type-C on the bottom, the 12 Pro Max has a lightning port, and on the back you can see glass backs on both, but we do have that standard glass back on the Galaxy S20 Ultra, where the 12 Pro Max actually has that frosted glass back. And what I can tell you is that for sure, the glass back on the iPhone 12 Pro Max definitely is a far better feeling glass back than the Galaxy S20 Ultra. It's just kind of like more or less the same with the S20 Ultra back. With the 12 Pro Max, that frosted glass back definitely feels much more premium in my opinion. Now they both have IP certification, which is really good, but the 12 Pro Max does have better IP certification at the end of the day. But you also have a microSD card slot on the S20 Ultra, which is really awesome. Now both these phones also have wireless charging, but the S20 Ultra does have reverse wireless charging, which is a really awesome feature for sure. Now on top of these things, we have our camera setups, and I'll go and hit on them right now. The Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra has a 108 megapixel wide-angle lens, a 48 megapixel periscope telephoto lens, a 12 megapixel ultra-wide sensor, and then that 0.3 megapixel depth sensor. With the iPhone 12 Pro Max has that 12 megapixel wide-angle lens, a 12 megapixel telephoto lens, then that 12 megapixel ultra-wide sensor. Now what I can tell you is that the S20 Ultra camera I think is probably the best camera from any phone manufacturer this year so far. I mean, it can just do everything that you want it to do. Now I will tell you some things within this camera may be kind of like a gimmick. I think that telephoto lens is cool and I think that's awesome. It's kind of like a novelty though, and I don't really look at that camera, that specific telephoto lens and think it's way better than, the 12 Pro Max. I'll say it's better for the time being because it has more functionality, but I don't think anybody in the right mind would use that specifically for the quality standpoint, but it's still pretty interesting that you can do that. Now the lens itself, all lenses on this phone are actually really good. Anytime I took a photo or video or anything with this phone, it handled it perfectly fine. You also have the ability of shooting 8K videos as well, which that in and of itself is a humongous reason why this phone is just that much far ahead of all other phones that came out that don't have 8K capability. Even though it's kind of dumb right now, like why would you want to shoot 8K videos? It's still pretty impressive that we have that capability on this device. So that in and of itself is really awesome in my standpoint. Now with the 12 Pro Max, 4K at 60, and I think this camera is just a smoother camera setup. I think whenever I try to take photos or videos or anything, it was really a smooth experience, just like any other iPhone. With Galaxies, it's just kind of like there's too many things going on, but that can also be a pro because you're getting more features from the S20 Ultra at the end of the day. But the 12 Pro Max's camera is great, and I think, coming from the predecessor, I don't really think it's that much of an improvement, to be honest. You're having LiDAR sensors pretty much on both, but I don't really see it. Like, I just feel like the S20 Ultra coming from the S10 Plus was a really big upgrade for sure. So in terms of the camera, I'll probably have to give the edge to the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra and then the iPhone 12 Pro Max, to be completely honest. Now, software-wise, this is where the iPhone just wins at completely. You're going to be getting a much longer lasting phone from the iPhone 12 Pro Max than the Galaxy S20 Ultra. With the S20 Ultra, I mean, its biggest problem is going to be software. So not only is the longevity not going to be as long as the 12 Pro Max, but One UI, which is what, Samsung Galaxy, runs their software on, it's based off Android. It's just not my favorite version of Android out there. It's just a super skin version of Android. It doesn't look that great, to be completely honest. The hardware is great. The software, I just don't really like it too much. So that's what the 12 Pro Max definitely wins, that longevity. Also, in terms of the software experience, it's just so much smoother. Even though the S20 Ultra has the 120Hz refresh rate and everything, I think the 12 Pro Max definitely wins when it comes down to the smoothness factor. Now, performance-wise, the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra has that Qualcomm Snapdragon 865 chipset, an Adreno 650 GPU, and 12 gigs of RAM. There's only one model of that phone. With the 12 Pro Max, has that Apple A14 Bionic chip inside of it with 6 gigabytes of RAM. And what I can tell you about the performance standpoint is that the Galaxy S20 Ultra is a very good performing phone. It's great. It's probably one of the fastest Androids out there. Maybe the OnePlus 8T is maybe a little bit faster, but this phone is extremely fast. It's not the smoothest thing. Like I stated, I will definitely give the smoothness factor to the iPhones of that year for sure. And in terms of speed, once you click on an app, it's opened. It just does everything you need it to do. Games run extremely fast. If you're a heavy performing person, if you need a lot of performance from your device, the Galaxy S20 Ultra is going to be able to do that. You're going to be able to multitask between heavy intensive apps, split screen multitasking as well. You're going to be getting a much faster and heavy performing machine from the Galaxy S20 Ultra than the iPhone 12 Pro Max. But on the flip side, if you're trying to find something that's a little bit smoother and, you still want a mixture of speed and performance and smoothness on top of that, the iPhone 12 Pro Max is probably the better way to go. I feel like with both these phones, they have the strong suits. It just depends. Do you want a phone that's just, insanely fast and you don't really care about if it's, opening things up smoothly or whatever? Or do you care about the smoothest factor and just the overall UI elements kind of interacting with each other? I don't even know what that means, but basically the smoothness factor of the phone. If you care about that, then the 12 Pro Max may be a better way to go. I feel like I said before, the iPhones of that year always tend to do better when it comes down to the smoothness factor than the Galaxies of that year. So this is no different. Even though the Galaxy S20 Ultra has way more RAM and it's just way faster of a phone, the 12 Pro Max is probably the smoother phone when it comes down to it. So in terms of the performance, that pretty much covers it up there. Now, ending it off with the battery life, this is very, very interesting. The Galaxy S20 Ultra has a massive 5,000 mAh battery. The iPhone 12 Pro Max has a 3,687 mAh battery. Now, both batteries are great. 100% I give the edge to the Galaxy S20 Ultra. That phone has a way better battery life for sure. You have wireless charging on both, but you also have reverse wireless charging on the Galaxy S20 Ultra, which that in and of itself is another awesome feature about that device, and definitely one of my favorite things about that device for sure. It just makes so much more sense that that phone has that capability. I'm surprised that the 12 Pro Max doesn't have it. Hopefully they'll bring it at some point, but as of right now, that's pretty much how both these phones kind of hold up in the battery standpoint. And to kind of sum up this video and to answer the question, should you go and pick up an iPhone 12 Pro Max? Should you go and pick up a Galaxy S20 Ultra? Well, what I can tell you is for sure at the end of the day, here are some pros for the Galaxy S20 Ultra. There's not a lot of cons, honestly. I mean, there's not a lot of cons for either one of these phones. The S20 Ultra is probably the best Android phone this year. Maybe it's a little bit behind the Note 20 Ultra. I don't know. They're like the same phone. For sure, the S20 Ultra has more features and it's just more of a flagship device. When I look at both these phones, I don't really look at the 12 Pro Max and think to myself like, wow, Apple did everything they could this year and put everything in and didn't hold back. I just don't really get that feeling. I just feel like Apple just, again, did the same thing they did last year, changed the design a little bit. But even in this video, I didn't even remember to hit on the design. And it's really not even that big of a deal. Like, we don't even remember. Like, I'm not even surprised. With the S20 Ultra, they changed the design there too, but I didn't really know. Nobody really cares about the design. At least I don't. I care about the features that that phone is bringing. And with the S20 Ultra, they brought that 120Hz refresh rate, which that in and of itself was an amazing thing to do. That is a flagship type of feature. The screen itself is a flagship type of experience. The camera on the back, they didn't hold back. They just put everything they had on this camera for the most part, and they just let us use it, and they said, you know, here you go, let's see what we can do. And that is another flagship type of feature. We have things like reverse wireless charging, which transferred over last year, micro SD card slot, which Apple's never going to do, but that's still a really cool feature. And just all those other things that I mentioned that just makes the Galaxy S20 Ultra that much more of a better flagship feeling device than the 12 Pro Max. But the 12 Pro Max is still an awesome phone as well. I mean, it still has a lot of capability. You still have that beautiful display on the front, Super Retina XDR OLED, which is very, very good, and I really do like that. That's a very good panel for sure, but it's just not quite as good as the S20 Ultra. You have that frosted glass back on the 12 Pro Max, which is something I really do prefer. You have this really smooth performing phone. I mean, this phone's performance is extremely smooth. It's not going to be all clunky and all like, you know, jittery, just like how the S20 Ultra is. It's not as fast as the S20 Ultra, but it's still an insanely fast and smooth phone for sure. You're getting a great camera setup. I don't know if I already hit on that, but it's a very, very good camera setup for sure. And you're getting a very long supported phone at the end of the day. This phone's going to be lasting for many, many years, but I still think the S20 Ultra, when I look at both these phones, screams to me that it's a more flagship device. It's more expensive, but if money wasn't an issue, then the S20 Ultra has more features at the end of the day that qualifies it more of a flagship device. But I think the 12 Pro Max, because it is a little bit cheaper in the brand new market, does, you know, offer a little bit of value too, maybe a little bit more value per dollar wise than the S20 Ultra. But I will tell you, I don't think you can go wrong with either one of these phones, but that's pretty much my opinion. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys can hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my other channels. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.